Hello, good evening, and thanks for being with me on Business. The United Kingdom government has indicated its preparedness to help the new administration stabilize the economy. The new administration has made stabilizing the economy and improving the business environment a major priority as Nana Addo begins work today. Visiting UK Prime Minister, Trade Envoy and Ghanaian-born MP for Windsor, Adam Afiye, tells Joy Business the UK is convinced with government's resolve to make the private sector the focus of its administration.
There really is an opportunity for Ghana to thrive and to fly and to be one of the countries that becomes the, let's say, the success story of Africa.
In terms of fostering that good environment, enabling environment for firms here in Ghana, what areas should we be looking at in terms of this new administration to ensure that we get it right to improve the business environment? Because when you engage a lot of firms here in Ghana, that's one of their topmost priority, that the environment has to be improved so they can grow their enterprises.
Well, the first experience that any overseas company or investor will have with Ghana is as they try to bring goods through customs. So I think it's really important that customs operate efficiently, effectively, and without the bribery and corruption that we have seen in the past. And I think that with a new administration, this is a new opportunity to put things right pretty quickly in that area. And I think the second area is that when it comes to the issuing of licenses and the registration of land, again, it should be a very high priority that these things can be managed effectively and efficiently so that businesses, when they first show up in Ghana, when they first begin to invest, feel confident that, they can transact their business without too much trouble and too much difficulty. I say this, don't be worried. This is a great opportunity for Ghana because in the United Kingdom now we have new departments looking overseas for opportunities, and Ghana, with the new administration and with some continued business reform, can be right at the top of the list of those countries with which we can transact business. So with Brexit, yes, there'll be a lot of resource focused on Brexit, but even more resource will be focused on forging those free trade relationships, those international relationships with countries like Ghana. So really, I would say that Brexit is a great opportunity for Ghana-UK relations, particularly in the areas of trade and diplomacy. It's an opportunity, it's not a threat.
What about inflows in terms of support? Because there are fears that also there'll be some serious cuts in inflows for more of a developing country like Ghana.
Yeah, well, look, the historic relationship has been very good, and we have several funds and support mechanisms to enable business in Ghana, both from DFID, our Department for International Development, from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and we have this high-level prosperity fund, which is really attuned to the new environment in Ghana. If there's going to be business reform, then in Britain we are in a position where we can help to support those reforms so that businesses can transact freely and in a positive way within Ghana.
Meanwhile, as President Akufo-Addo starts work officially, key industry players are impressing on his administration to create enabling environment for Ghana's private sector within the president's first 100 days in office. The president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Berima Dr. Ofori-Ameyaw, in an interview with Joy Business, urged the president to help ease the cost of doing business in Ghana within the same period. Charles Aite has more in this report.
One of the key promises President Nana Akufo-Addo made during the campaign period is to stimulate growth in Ghana's private sector through creating an enabling environment for local businesses to thrive. President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Berima Dr. Ofori-Ameyaw I, says the only way the president can stimulate the private sector is to quicken measures to cut down on utility tariffs and levies on import duties.
Without a very good business environment, the private sector cannot operate to the admiration of themselves and the country as a whole, because if the private sector improves, it's the country which benefits at the end of the day, because the country may be able to get his or her taxes all right. When you talk about the macroeconomic indicators, you talk about the interest rate. How can one businessman break even if we have an interest rate of 33 to 35%? It's impossible. Even if you're not lucky and then you will fall into the hands of the macro finance companies, then you are dead. Because if you're talking about 5% a month, cumulatively you're talking about 60%. You're talking about 6%, cumulatively you're talking about 72%. When you talk about 7% a month, cumulatively you're talking about 84% per annum. How can a businessman operate in such an environment to break even. Believing there, you talk about the major issue of the exchange rate. Sometimes I have been very consistent that when we talk about exchange rate and government comes out to say that, oh, we have been able to stabilize the currency, what kind of stabilization are they talking about? Because the expectation of the private sector is not about you stabilizing at 4 cedis. Our expectation could have been at least 2 cedis or 2.50.
The Ghana Printers and Paper Converters Association fears massive layoffs this year should President Akufo-Addo neglect the pressing issues of power fluctuations and unfair tax systems. So far, expectations remain high on how best the new NPP administration will turn around Ghana's local private sector. For Joy Business, Charles Aite reporting.
Now, the Chief Executive of a Standard Chartered Bank, Kweku Beduado, has added his voice to calls for the newly sworn-in government to be cautious in implementing the promised tax cuts. The NPP, during the 2016 manifesto, promised to remove import duties on raw materials and production equipment whilst slashing corporate taxes from 25 to 20%. President Akufo-Addo, in his inaugural speech, reiterated his government's will reduce taxes to recover the momentum of the economy. But speaking with Joy Business, Mr. Beduado said government would need to explore other options of raising revenue.
We need to continue to see fiscal discipline. We've gone through almost 3 years of fiscal consolidation. We are under an IMF program. I think that as Ghanaians, we have to hold ourselves to high standards. I personally don't think that we need an IMF to tell us to live within our means. So I would expect that going forward, after all that we've been through as a country, we would learn, and our economic managers would also ensure that fiscal discipline becomes the standard, because once there's fiscal discipline, everything else will fall in line, and interest rates will start to go down, investment will start to go up, the economy will grow. Fiscal discipline obviously implies that the tax administration will also be more efficient whilst expenditure is controlled. When you have all these factors aligned, then you get on a more benign, virtuous cycle of growth and investment. But if the fiscal dominates everything and takes everything out of equilibrium, then we don't achieve what we all want to achieve.
Why is your optimism that high that this will be done?
I think that I would say that all the stakeholders have learned lessons, what to do and what not to do. I think that's how I'll choose to look at it. I think given what we've been through, we all know what not to do. Hopefully, we all know what not to do. And we'll learn from that experience and make sure that going forward, we take the country down the path guided by what to do. When we had our 120th anniversary public lecture, we had distinguished personalities from the past, Mr. Osafo Mafu, former finance minister, Dr. Kwesi Botwe, former finance minister, and Mr. Alex Ashiago, former governor of Bank of Ghana. And it was interesting to hear. These are people who managed the country, the economy at various stages in the last 40 years. And
that's all in business for tonight. Thanks for watching. And for more business information, log on to mindyouronline.com/business. My name is Emmanuel Apuaji. There's more ahead. Don't go away.